Hello, my name is Anthony Guerin, and here's my audience. Isn't the idea that a musician is simply someone who plays notes on a page belittling? The idea that their sole purpose is to play what the composer intended with no deeper meaning? No, I find that being a musician can have so much more of an impact and a meaning past simply what they play, and no one encapsulates this idea more than Leonard Bernstein. During his long life, he was able to do so much, not relegated to one field, including what he has done as a composer, a teacher, a conductor, and even an activist. The way that I know Leonard Bernstein's work is first through what he created, but I didn't really know too much about him until recently. I am a classically trained percussionist who, even this year, got first chair in the All-State Orchestra. But my methodology to exploring music is more than just what I am playing. I want to look into the history. And something that fascinates me about Leonard Bernstein is when I was doing research on any composer, it didn't matter. For some strange reason, it would always come back to him. So I decided, instead of just looking at the composers, let's look at the source that I was investigating. Now, he isn't a household name, but he has worked on quite a few projects. His most famous project is arguably what he did with Broadway. There is a show called West Side Story, which is often revered as one of the greatest, and he made the music for it. Him and Stephen Sondheim, who made the lyrics, ended up creating one of the most iconic musicals during the 20th century. But he still did more. For instance, he had 3 symphonies during his time, which all had some deeper meaning behind it, as they went over the ideas of faith, anxiety, and arguing with God, which, if you want to learn more about, can be found through the Bernstein Press. And during those symphonies, the 3rd one is personally my favorite. They're often in a ginormous instrumentation used in order to achieve the points they want to come across. Now then, during his time, however, he wasn't really known for his works. Instead, he was known more for what he would do as a conductor with the New York Philharmonic. During his tenure as the conductor, he set up a series of concerts which became what he was most known for during his lifetime, called the Youth Concerts, where he would feature many composers' works as well as the stories behind them before performing it. He covered both dead people and alive people, and to start with dead people, we'll start with Gustav Mahler, who created many works. He's most known for his 9 symphonies, but during his time alive, he actually didn't get the credit that you'd think he would have for such grand works, oftentimes because of anti-Semitic attacks. His first 5 symphonies, for example, which include his 2nd and 5th, which people call his greatest, were often downplayed, often called as Jewish music, which you can find through the Classical Nerd channel. Still, because Leonard Bernstein performed his work, he was able to revive the presence of Mahler. But he didn't only cover people who were long dead. There was also another composer called Dmitri Shostakovich, who lived in the Soviet Union and had to appease the Soviet regime, including making symphonies that were often peaceful, but still grand. I do enjoy his 5th symphony. But during one of Bernstein's talks before where they played the 9th symphony, they went over the history and how his 9th symphony is typically a big, grand expression, as it's often their last. But if you listen to Shostakovich's 5th symphony, or 9th symphony, you would find it quite silly, especially given the occasion, as it was a victory symphony after World War II. it was just a subtle jab at Stalin, and basically saying, you want to be grand, but it's more silly. But he did even more than just being the conductor, as he was also an activist. As his identity as both a Jewish and closeted bi person had profound impacts. To start with him being bi, I do have to put an asterisk, as there are people that argue whether he was bi or gay. If you asked his wife, he was gay. And this is all according to Curtis EDU. His affairs did end up costing him quite a lot later in his life, especially after his wife died, but he still persevered. Earlier in his life, however, he tried to enlist to the military, but failed due to health conditions. But still, he was able to contribute to keeping Jewish works alive through his performance of Mahler. Finally, a year before he died, he performed with the Bavarian Radio Symphony Orchestra, which you can find through the Classical Nerd Herd YouTube video and the Bernstein Press, during 1989, which was when the Berlin Wall fell. Overall, Bernstein is a conductor, composer, and teacher who did so much more than simply just create works or perform them. And to end it, I want to end with a quote. Shortly after President Kennedy's assassination, my father said, "This will be our reply to violence, to make more music, more intensely, more beautifully, and more devotedly than ever," which Jamie Bernstein said. And I find that philosophy beautiful, as Bernstein lived his life with the intent to create as a response to everything bad in the world. Thank you for listening. All right. Here's my audience.